The DSLR camera. A typical digital SLR would look like the following image. Digital SLR front. Let's look at each individual section of the digital SLR in more detail. One is the lens alignment. Each lens you use will have a similar red dot or sometimes a white square. It allows you to align, twist, and click the lens in place more easily. Two is the flash pop-up button. Press this to activate the pop-up flash. There will be similar buttons on all makes of camera. It is a kind of manual override useful for fill-in, flash, etc. If in full auto mode, the camera will decide whether or not to use the flash. Lens release. By pressing this, you will allow the lens to be twisted and released. That's right here. Note, try to change lenses out of dusty areas and try to have the camera switched off. The static produced when the camera is on will attract dust to the sensor. Depth field preview. The depth of field determines how much of an image is in focus. For example, if you took a photo of someone with a mountain range in the background and both the subject and the mountain range are in focus, you have deep or large depth of field. If the subject is in focus but the mountains are blurred, you have shallow or small depth of field. For example, f16 gives deep depth of field and f2.8 gives shallow depth of field. This button will close the aperture to give you an idea through the viewfinder of what will be in focus. Lens contacts, that's these right here. These line up with the contacts of any compatible lenses, allowing the camera's autofocus and other settings to work in time with your lens settings. Mirror, that's this thing right here. The mirror allows you to see through the viewfinder almost exactly what you will photograph by reflecting the image up and into the eyepiece. It flips up the instant that you press the shutter release and returns once the picture is taken. Never touch the mirror with your fingers and use special cleaning equipment and solutions. Some mirrors can be replaced, but it is costly. Any dust on the mirror will not appear in your photographs, so if in doubt, leave it alone. Grip, right here. Grip is usually rubberized for more effective handling of the sometimes cumbersome digital SLR cameras. Shutter release button. That's this thing right here. It's what you press to take the picture. Without wanting to state the obvious, this takes the picture at whatever settings you have made. At a half press will start the autofocus and exposure calculations. Focus assist beam. That's this right here. Most modern digital SLRs have this now. It illuminates the subject in poor light to assist the autofocus. It will sometimes be used as an indicator for the self-timer function, i.e. it will flash and beep during the delay. Then the pop-up flash. That's right here. Semi-professional or prosumer DSLRs have a built-in flash which, when on full auto, will pop up and fire when required. On the manual settings, you will normally have to activate it via a button. For more creative photography, so that is the front of the camera. The back looks at first glance to be more complicated. Here is the back of a camera. Now, not every camera looks exactly like this on the back, but all cameras are going to have the same functions. Okay, so first we have the viewfinder. This is where it all happens. With most film or digital SLRs, you see about 95 to 98% of what you shoot. And here you will see the focusing ring at the center of the image, plus most of the information such as shutter speed, aperture settings, etc. Diopter adjustment. That's right here. Very handy if you are slightly long or short sighted. As in binoculars, you can adjust the viewfinder to match the difference in your eyes, enabling you to use the camera without your glasses or contact lenses. Rubber eye cup. That's the thing around the viewfinder here. This can be removed, but is handy for two reasons. If you wear glasses, it will protect the lenses from scratching against the camera. Without glasses, it helps the viewfinder to mold around your eye and eliminate any surrounding glare. Joystick dial, right here. On the Canon EOS 20D, this will allow you to move around a menu or image in display mode. Exposure lock zoom button, which would be here. On the Canon EOS 20D, this button serves two purposes. Firstly, it is the exposure lock button. If you aim the camera at a scene and press this, it will record and keep for a few seconds that exact exposure whilst you recompose and shoot. Good for if you are shooting into light and want control over the exposure. Doesn't work in the manual setting. Secondly, when using the image preview screen to look at your exposed images, using this button will zoom in on a specific area. Focus point selector zoom button, which would be right here. Again, on the Canon EOS 20D, this has two functions. Firstly, it is the autofocus point selector. You can choose from a number of points as to which you would like to use. If you select all of them, the camera will pick the best point for individual circumstances automatically. Secondly, when reviewing your images on the screen, this will zoom out of a specific area. Right indication light. Would be here, I guess. This will vary in its position depending on the camera you are using. When it flashes red, it is writing data from the recently exposed images to the CF card or other media. We use SD cards. If you open the media door whilst it is flashing, you normally lose the images, much like opening the back of a film camera before rewinding the film. Jog dial and set button, right here. The jog dial will scroll through images or items in a menu, and the set button will select an image or setting in the menu. On-off button. Uh, Here we go, right here. Actually, on our cameras, it's up on top. Switches the camera power on and off. On the 20D digital SLR, it also deactivates the jog dial. I normally leave the camera on all the time. The sleep mode kicks in after a few minutes and you can turn the power off. Please don't leave ours on. It will drain the battery. Erase button, right here. On ours, it's going to be over here around this dial. Again, its position will vary according to your camera, but this will ease any selected images. You are normally asked, first, are you sure, as a safeguard? Play button. When the camera is switched on, this will display the last image taken on the small screen. Then you can scroll through the others. That would be here. Our play button, again, is going to be over here. Jump button, used to jump 2 or 3 images or menu items at a time. It's not something that is used very often, but if you're in a hurry, it can be good. which would make it right here. Info. By pressing this, you will bring up all the information of any image that you select and view. It will tell you the exposure settings, white balance, date, time, image size, flash details, in fact, everything about the photo except the name of the subject. The 20D will also highlight any part of the image that is overexposed and burn out. So, right here. Menu button. This will bring up all the internal menu functions on the screen. You scroll through them using the dial and select buttons. See your camera manual for more details of what your camera can do from here. Screen. Displays menus and images that have been exposed. It will not display the image in real time that you are looking at, like most digital. Okay, ours do. You can actually shoot from this now. This was an older camera. Um, it's really kind of up to the person and a matter of um, personal preference, whether you use the viewfinder or the screen to compose and shoot your pictures. I use the viewfinder because it's just easier for me. And now the top of the DSLR camera right here. Um, this looks a lot different than they do now. So I am going to kind of jump over some of this because a lot of these things are on the back of the camera now. They've rearranged things. But of course, your shutter button is going to be right here. This dial is where you're going to set your settings on your camera. And that's pretty much all you really need right now for this top part. So I'm going to stop this video right here.